Hi, friends. Happy Lent. So, yeah, Ash Wednesday marks the beginning of Lent, where we are challenged to find the things that are causing us, ways to, I guess I like to call them hurdles, so to speak, to striving for our ultimate goal in life. Such as maybe there are some sins that we keep repeating all the time, whether it be cursing or there are times maybe we're impatient towards a certain individual. These 40 days will give us that opportunity. And at the same time, we also have opportunities to become better Catholics. Think of this as your spiritual spring cleaning, so to speak. And in the spring cleaning, you are beginning to think of ways that you become a better version of yourself. Remember around New Year's where we had that whole thing with this new year, new me, or new year, better me? Well, I prefer new year, better me, in my humble opinion. Changed my mind. Steve Crowder. Okay. The three recommendations of Lent are almsgiving, prayer, and fasting. And they are repeated every Lent. So let's break them down first. Prayer. Well, it's very self-explanatory. But sometimes we have to take a look at where we are in our prayer life. Are we the type that likes to pray a deck of the rosary each day? Maybe you want to push it to praying a full rosary, so all 5 mysteries in a day. Now, granted, you can't do them all at once. Break them down. Do the first deck in the morning. Do a second decade when you're on your break at work. Do another decade when you're at lunch. Do a decade going home from work. And do a decade before you go to bed. Boom! There it is. Here's a tip for you. If you're the ones that pray the whole rosary from beginning to end within 10 to 15 minutes, do it in front of the Blessed Sacrament when you can, because you do get a plenary indulgence. And I can only imagine what saints like Padre Pio, Fulton Sheen, the list goes on. I wonder how many rosaries they prayed before the Blessed Sacrament. God only knows. And also, are you praying each morning? I remember reading up about this Navy SEAL that was recently awarded the Medal of Honor some years ago. And there were 4 things that were attached on this wall. Did you eat today? Did you run today? Did you... whatever it is. But there was one more thing that kind of stood out from the rest. Did you pray today? And this guy was part of what is one of America's elite warriors. I won't say what branch it is. I don't want to compromise his identity or anything like that. But about 10 years ago, he did he did earn himself the Congressional Medal of Honor for an operation of rescuing hostages held by ISIS. And that, I think, is something we really need to incorporate a little more. It's one thing, we do exercise. Yes, that's very important. Yes, stay healthy. You do need to nourish yourself. Yes. You do need to whatever. But one important thing you must do every day is pray. So let's not forget to pray each day. The second one, and this one I think really draws a lot of people off, and that is fasting. Now, some people may think, oh, it's just fasting from food. Okay, no big deal. Just skip lunch. There's a little more to that. Fasting could also be, fasting from materialistic things, or even fasting from social media right now, which I'm sure you're watching my video on your phone. But seriously, yeah, maybe you want to stop, scrolling through your newsfeed on Instagram and just double tapping, favoring all those cute puppy videos. And don't get me wrong, they are adorable and they're funny at times. But also maybe you just want to tie your fingers from responding to a thread where it can get out of hand from time to time from people who don't know how to use their time wisely. Maybe that's another thing you could do for fasting. Maybe fast from unproductivity. So perhaps if you have a hobby or two, maybe you want to work on them in place of wasting time on social media and getting distracted. So put your phone out of sight, but deactivate your internet if you have to. Trust me, it works. Believe me, you won't regret it. Other things you can do for fasting is perhaps you like to put your cream and sugar in your coffee. Why don't you just drink it black, like a cowboy does? Or maybe you like to put ketchup on your French fries when you go to McDonald's or Chick-fil-A. That sounds good right now. See what I'm doing to you guys? I'm tempting you. But seriously, maybe you should probably just eat your French fries without ketchup. Maybe you should drink your coffee without the cream, sugar, and all that fun jazz. Things like that. Even fast from things like shopping or like your Amazon order. It can wait till Easter. Trust me. Unless you get necessity things like food, medicine, whatever. Those things, sure, go buy them. Don't want to keep you from doing that. So, but also too with the fasting, if you're going to skip lunch, why don't you offer to a beggar on the street or a homeless person? And when you fast, I want you to fast. I want you to think about who you're going to offer that fast for. Especially with all the chaos in the world, I'm sure you're going to pick your offer, your fasting for one of those things. So highly encouraged to do so. My second favorite one of all of this, and this may draw some confusion, is almsgiving. Now, almsgiving is something I think a lot of people think, oh, I gotta deplete my whole bank account. That's not what it is. Almsgiving is when, if you have some extra change, give what you have to the poor, or give what you have to the parish. Because believe me, many churches have not recovered from the phenomenon we had for the past 2 years, with the pandemic. So give what you have. Every time you get change, if you're assuming you're paying with cash, of course, from when you get your coffee from Starbucks, but I'm hoping you're supporting the small businesses, of course. And every time you get that change, I want you to put it in a little. I want you to put it in like a little jar, and then by Easter, you're gonna thank me for this later. Put it in a storage bag and throw it in the collection basket. You'll thank me later. You see, my brothers and sisters, we are called to, as we were reminded in the letter to the Corinthians, that we are called to be ambassadors for God. And as we also look at the Gospel of Matthew, we were reminded to not be like the hypocrites. It's not the first time Jesus mentioned it, because if you recall during the 8th Sunday, he mentioned hypocrites who can't fix their own problems when they try to fix others. Lent 2 is a good opportunity for us to perfect the things that are shifting us from our relationship with Jesus, such as praying, fasting, and giving what we have for the sake of others. Now, almsgiving is not just for money. It could also be for clothes. So let's face it, let's face it, a while back you had Christmas, and I'm sure you had like some new stuff. And you're probably thinking after a while, you're like, I got all this clutter in my closet. I think it's time to downsize. So don't be afraid to give away that Michael Kors code to the homeless, or to St. Vincent de Paul, whatever, or that fur coat, or those boots with the fur, whatever it is. Let's face it, we have to start learning to detach ourselves from this world and prepare ourselves for what's next in our spiritual journey, and that is heaven. And as we were reminded by Saint Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI is that we are called to return to the Lord, as the prophet Joel reminded us, to render our hearts, not our garments. The prophet goes on to say, "Return to the Lord your God, for the gracious and merciful is he, slow to anger, rich in kindness, and relenting in punishing." To return to the Lord is possible as a grace, for it is God's own work and the fruit of our mystery in his mercy. This return to God becomes a concrete reality in our lives only when the Lord's grace penetrates and deeply shakes us, and enables us to rend our hearts. Let the Lord pierce your hearts. Even Fulton Sheen knew very well that in order for God to come into your hearts, he would have to break them. And he's right. That wall you have around your heart will soon topple. That heart will be rendered to God once those walls crumble. And it starts with you. Let us humble our hearts. Let us surrender to God. Let us unite everything that holds us back to the foot of the cross as we begin our journey now. Now is when we surrender ourselves to Jesus. Now is the time to deepen our relationship with him. Now is the time to repent and believe in the gospel. Now is the time to be his faithful ambassadors, his foot soldiers in this spiritual combat. Are we ready to take that footstep today? That first step. To surrender our hearts and our garments to Jesus. Let us take that first journey together. Let us humble our hearts. Let us seek his mercy in the sacrament of penance. And when we receive the Eucharist, let us share that Eucharist as his faithful ambassadors to others, particularly those who do not know who Jesus is, and those who have made a myriad of excuses to stop going to Mass every given Sunday and receive his mercy. Let us go out there and represent the one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church with humble hearts and merciful love. May God bless you during your Lenten journey, and never give up. God bless you.